Peace and Black Power family. This is an unannounced, impromptu live broadcast, completely unscripted. First of all, I want to say, Kwanzaa is over at this point, but for those of us like myself who believe that those seven principles, the Nguzo Saba, are things we should practice every day, I'm definitely supporting this movement of Kwanzaa 365, that we should practice all seven of those principles throughout the year and not wait for the December 26th to January 1st. Those principles are universally sound. If we practice them, if we lock in on them and embody them, we will be a better people. And that is a fact, and our conditions will be better. So I support celebrating Kwanzaa all year round. I also want to say to you all, Happy New Year. I know that we have a bunch of people that celebrate different calendars. Family. And that's going to... We're funny like that. That's going to be one of the things I want to talk about. Having said that, so I had the benefit of being involved in the Black Liberation Movement, at least this more modern, contemporary iteration of it, because it goes back to when the first African was snatched off the continent. The Black Liberation Movement did not start in the 60s nor the 50s. It started as soon as the first Europeans came and kidnapped Africans and put us in dungeons and shipped us off to different places around the world to exploit our labor, right? I've been able to see a lot, go to a lot of meetings, hear a lot of speakers, sometimes be in leadership in some of those cases, sometimes just a person who wanted to help, And so therefore I've had a lot of time to reflect, make observations. I've written extensively about some of these observations, and I've even put in some of my observations in book form. But what I'm seeing right now that is disturbing me, and I need to speak on it, is that as racist, white, very repressive forces are going all out against, our people, and we want to call quote unquote people of color and poor people, and we can name a lot of different sort of special interest groups that are being negatively impacted by this particular administration and those who support this administration. Whole lot of people, it's not just black people. We need to be very politically astute and clear about that. Black people aren't the only ones being victimized, family. There's a whole big world out there now, and we're not the only ones occupying it. But from my standpoint, as a nationalist and a Pan-Africanist, I am certainly first and foremost concerned with what's happening with us. And the record so far of this administration is that it has displaced Africans, new Africans, from their homes, from their neighborhoods. It has threatened so what they call now, euphemistically, food security. We called it hunger and starvation, right? For a lot of people who are poor, who depend on government services. And this isn't the place to talk about we shouldn't depend on the government services. We know this. But for those who do, they have been negatively impacted, and they're living under the constant threat and fear of their services being taken away. We know that as of today, medical insurance premiums have gone up as much as 100 or something percent because of the protections that were afforded. Many people getting that health insurance through quote unquote Obamacare have run out, right, as of yesterday, I believe. So a lot of people are going to be paying higher costs for medication. Some of you are going to say, well, if you ate right, you wouldn't have medication. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to talk about. The people who don't seem to get it. The people who seem to enjoy being the contrarians. The people who want to blame the victims. The people who, man, what you say, we're trying to make a political point, trying to rally the troops, trying to organize and mobilize people. And we got, some of us seem like we don't get it. We're not understanding what's going on, right? And I want to speak to not so much them, but to their relatives, their friends. Those of you who may be lukewarm, may not be as politically astute, may not be as inclined to stay in touch with all the magazines, the articles, and the news programs, and and internet stories. So you may not really fully know exactly what's going on. But I'm here to tell you that Project 2025, which is definitely a white hegemonic document of almost 1,000 pages, was a blueprint for Donald Trump to come in and basically reduce the power of the judicial branch, the Supreme Court in this case, the legislative branch, Congress, and to widen the power and scope of the executive branch, of which he embodies, right, as the president. It's a whole playbook for how to do that. It's also a playbook for how to essentially return the United States to a time into like pre-Civil War time, when non-white people were enslaved or subjugated, where our labor was exploited, where we had no civil recourse, no ability to redress our grievances. We weren't even recognized under the law. And that's what they're trying to return the country to, it would seem. And I'm not even saying that in an exaggerated form. That's actually how I feel looking at all the news and observing things. This is not a good time for us. And so at this type of time, what you would expect to see is a lot of angry, outraged, enraged Black folk, a lot of teachers feeling like, their jobs could be on the line if they teach Black or African American studies or Africana studies, that they may be unfairly scrutinized, that they may eventually be pressured to teach certain things and omit teaching other things. Those, it seems like teachers would be rallying up, would be organizing to fight both the attempts to censor and to restrict what they teach and how they teach it. It seems that teachers would be writing alternative, possibly African-centered curriculums. It seems that teachers would be thinking about starting schools of their own. It seems like teachers would be thinking about starting after-school programs and writing curriculums for them and all types of things. It seems that workers would be preparing and organizing and mobilizing to fight what is definitely an anti-labor union administration, family. Anytime the oligarchs get in office, the plutarchs, the people who rule through wealth and frown upon poor people, they always are going to frown upon unions, because unions represent the working class of the country, family, right? They're the ones that gave you your 2-day weekend and your holiday paid time off, your health insurance, your 401k. All of that is coming off the struggle of the labor movement in this country that fought for those things that we take for granted. And so the president and this administration does not like unions, because they're the ones that's going to fight big pharma and all the other kind of corporate conglomerates whose only language they speak, hear, and understand and acknowledge is money, right? Seems like the workers would be organizing. Seems like the women who their reproductive rights are getting threatened and they're being pressured to make decisions they shouldn't have to make. Doctors are being pressured to make decisions they shouldn't have to make. It seems to me that immigrants, particularly those of color, and let us not forget African immigrants and immigrants of the African diaspora, Haitian, Jamaican, so on and so forth, are under threat for being deported. There's been reports of people who were actually citizens of the country who were so-called accidentally deported, only to be brought back. There's evidence of some of these detention centers where there are immigrants that are dirty, people not eating, allegations of some level of torture, and certainly isolation for their families. There's threats of families being split up. So family, also your president, because he certainly ain't mine, has dispatched National Guards in different cities, which just so happen to be largely Black cities or cities with large Black concentrations. So one would think that in the midst of all of that, we would put the petty differences aside, We wouldn't be arguing over ideology at this point. We would be like, yo, man, whatever. You fight, are you fighting on our behalf? Are you fighting for black people? Whether you want to call black, more, new African, like really, family. At this point, like what is it going to take for people to put down the division? Anything that's divisive right now is not flying. This is when you close ranks. When you see that the people who have declared themselves your sworn enemies, these people, family, are the descendants of the Confederate soldiers, family, the Confederacy. Be very clear. Some of them may not be the biological descendants, but certainly ideologically, in terms of their ideas, how they see the world, how they look upon the sons and daughters of Africa, these are the ideological descendants of the Confederates. You know, that group of people with the states that separated themselves from the Union and said we're no longer part of the United States and prompted an entire civil war, right? Yeah, one of the bloodiest wars in American history. That's the people I'm talking about, that mindset. The people that saw us, and when they looked at us, they saw servants and slaves and sexual concubines and whipping posts and people they could have their way with. That people, that mindset is in the government right now. In case you have missed any of the news or news reports, a lot of bad things are going on. And your president is also pressuring media people in the media who criticize him. He's pressuring companies to fire them. Like Jimmy Kimmel almost got kind of fired, got suspended. He's pressuring, he's suing universities, family. He's like 60 different universities that your president has sued to say that they are in violation of civil rights laws because they are, quote unquote, what's the word for anti-Semitic. He's pressuring universities to punish student activists, family. Yes. And is being successful. He got Columbia to cough up $200-something million. Since when you heard a president suing the universities of his country? So I want y'all to understand that what these Republicans have promised they would do in this nearly 1,000-page document called Project 2025, which Harlem Liberation School told you about more than a year ago. We had workshops on it and teach-ins, and we told you this is what they say they're going to do. And people are like, oh, no, you know, Ronald Reagan was bad, but he didn't do it. I'm like, yo, this is what they wrote, and everything you see happening is in that book. Project 2025. You can look that up. You can download the entire book if you was crazy enough to do so. You'd be wasting a lot of paper and ink. Or you could read it online, right? Everything they're doing is in that book. It's a plan. It's called a blueprint, family. And during this time, Harlem Liberation School was saying, we better have a black print. We better be coming up with our plan. This is more than a year ago. And unless we have people that are moving in stealth mode, or in other words, clandestine, secretive, I'm not seeing what I would qualify as the requisite response to what is going on right now. Instead, we talking about all types of silly foolishness, irrelevant stuff. And it's like, yo, none of that is going to matter, right? When all your, quote unquote, the civil rights you do have recognized are not recognized. I did a video called America is Heading in a Fascist Direction. I broke down fascism. I talked about the elements, the components of fascism, where it started, of the countries in modern times that were fascist. And I made a very good case in that video, Is America Becoming Fascist? Check it out on this channel, that this country is going straight fascist right now. All of these are signs of fascism. So what I'm saying to you, family, the name of the video is Stay Focused. Imagine back in the day that Africans are taken off the continent of Africa under great duress, under great torture and deprivation, and certainly some very unsanitary conditions in those boats for the Middle Passage, right, or the Mayafa, that Holocaust of African people coming from here, from Africa to the so-called New World and the Caribbean. And imagine as Africans are being beat, chained up, huddled together, defecating and urinating on each other, dying of diseases. More than a third of the cargo we were considered, dying from unsanitary conditions and disease, to the point where some of the ones living jumped overboard and rather get eaten by sharks than deal with those inhumane conditions. And so imagine the remaining Africans on these slave ships, looking at these white folk with these guns and these whips and these chains, the smell coming up from the quarters where they were kept below the boat. Some of them may be hearing stories about their kith and kin that was sold off and enslaved, raped and brutalized and exploited. And to their great credit, those who did not jump overboard, or those who vowed to survive and fight, and others created mutinies on those slave ships. Now that is logical. I mean, that is intelligent. You're either going to fight the people doing this to you and resist, or you're going to say, man, I'm out of here. I can't live like this. But, hey, to each their own. Or you're going to say, I'm going to survive. I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to wait my turn, right? And when it's my turn, I'm going to resist. So our ancestors were intelligent. They participated in slave resistance. They participated in running away, those who were so brave and courageous to do that. Some participated in breaking tools that they would use to do the farming on these plantations. Some stole away to the swamp areas where there were swamp areas and became what we call maroons, and lived semi-autonomous, independent from white folk, independent from these plantations, where they reintroduced their traditional African languages, their drumming, their dances, their customs, and they kind of preserved their culture. The Maroons. Some decided to kind of go on what we call a work strike, work slowdown. And instead of picking 80, 100 bales of cotton, they picked 60 deliberately. They slowed down their production deliberately as a form of resistance. Some people who worked in the house put ground up glass in the slave master's food. My father told me those stories when I was a kid. Some committed slave revolts or rebellions or insurrections, violent insurrections against slave masters, where they tried to go from plantation to plantation to, handle the white folk and run away eventually. So it was all types of things that our people did to resist. But any one of those forms of resistance was intelligent, given the time. Now let's fast forward to now. What resistance are we participating in? Many of us absolutely can go to bed at night and say, I participate in acts of resistance every day. How do we do that today? Well, we do that by exposing what our enemies are doing, by getting on these social media platforms and educating and informing people, raising people's morale, getting people to overcome their fear, things of this nature. Some of us writing books and doing films to educate people and get the word out. Some people are writing the most beautiful music, performing political poetry and doing political theater to help people get the point that we have to move. We can't be afraid. We can't keep talking about the problems and getting all worked up about how mad we are. We got to do something to change the condition that we are in, because things will get worse before they get better. I'm not trying to be a Donnie Downer, but that's just how things work. They don't see a requisite. They're doing stuff. They don't see a requisite, what you would expect as a response from us. They take that as, this is our time to have our way. And so I want to say what you're going to see, and I've said this for years now at this point, is when they're getting ready to make major moves, you're going to see distractions. It's the oldest trick in the book family. The number one tactic is to keep us distracted. So what does this look like? Well, they may have exposed some big celebrity thing. For all we know, P. Diddy is part of this distraction That's not to say he didn't do what he's accused of. That's not even my point. But just getting everybody so fixated, they're looking, right. And while we looking right, they're passing, laws and stuff over here, family. They do it all the time. So at this critical time, it's a new year. We celebrated. Some of us had a little champagne, got a little drinky drink on. We with our loved ones. We had Kwanzaa. We Habaragani. We breaking down in Nguzu Saba. And now we got to get back to work. Because one thing about it is New York, where I live, is called the city that never sleeps. That means that there's always stores open. You can always get snacks and get food and get a cab or catch a public transportation, bus or train. There's always something open. And white subjugation is like New York City. It never sleeps. That's not to say that we can't go to sleep. We're human. We have to go to sleep, right? But that's why we have these things called organizations. That's why we have these things called networks, institutions, right? That take the power and ability of one or few people and magnify it, right? Amplify that power. And it is at this precise time, coming off the heels of Kwanzaa, right? But we're talking about Umoja Barakani, Kujichagulia Barakani, right? Ujima, Kuumba, faith. We're breaking all this down. It's time to operationalize those principles. So when we say unity, that means there's a brother or sister in an organization, you don't agree with their complete ideology because you don't think they're radical enough, fine. Are they fighting on our behalf? Are they exposing the enemy? Are they teaching the people? Are they doing something to help? Then we might have to now start having real meetings about forming alliances and dropping some of our petty feuds and be able to say, yo, are you trying to be free? Because I'm trying to be free. Are you trying to eat? I'm trying to eat. Are you trying to make sure you can take care of your family? I am. Or some of us are maybe saying, are you trying to repatriate and actually go back to Africa or somewhere else in the diaspora? That's how we need to be talking. You don't like the school system. You don't like that they're trying to take away the Department of Education. You don't like that they're trying to ban the teaching of Africana studies. Okay, so create curriculums, create alternative schools, create after-school programs. I'm seeing more and more that some of our young men are challenged. Some, not all, with understanding etiquette, how you get down, how you move as a man, right? How you carry yourself as a man, how you relate respectfully to other men, particularly those older than you. I'm seeing that some of our young men are challenged with that. I've had back-to-back incidents with two different young men. I'm like, whoa, not looking good. We got to do something. So my wheels are already spinning. Okay, we got to create some programs, some initiatives to teach these brothers, to get them and teach them right, man. Get them out of these streets, involved with all types of nefarious activities, and point them in the direction of nationhood and being hygienic, to be sanitary, disciplined, respectful, having integrity, taking care of their families, being protective, being instructive, being models for other younger brothers. We have to, whatever we see as a problem, whatever we see, whatever disturbs you, gets under your skin, whenever you see it on the news, it gets you uptight, you find yourself talking about it, dreaming about it, worrying about it, that's the sign from the universe and the Most High that you ought to do something about it. That's a sign when stuff that bothers you like that. Because I'm going to be honest, I work hard to make sure that nothing bothers me. I try to stay focused. So I see stuff I don't like, that's too bad. With people, behavior I don't like, it's not good. But I try not to get too sticky, meaning I try not to let everything I see bother me, because then I'll be paralyzed. But sometimes when things bother you, it's telling you, tap you on the shoulder like, yo, you need to do something about that. And I'm sure that anyone watching this live or recorded, you have seen things in this country. Talking, of course, about the United States. If you're watching overseas, I'm sure you've seen things in the UK, Canada, on the continent, in the Caribbean, that disturb you. And if you are a person that you're seeing things that are disturbing you, That is your time to say, I got to do something about it. Now, I'm not saying to be foolhardy here, family. Okay? My mother and father ain't raised no fool. What I'm saying is, if you see something, say something. Ain't that what the white man say? You see a bag on the plane or the train, say something. It might be a bomb. I'm telling you, if you see something, do something. That could be as simple as write a blog. You write well, write a blog. Point out what's going on. Give people ideas for how they could organize. You're a teacher. You're good at explaining things. Get on here and explain terms that people are hearing and may not be familiar with, right? And help them politicize and radicalize people. Help teach them that they have a right to resist oppression and domination, no matter who it is doing it. There's all these things we could do. You're a builder. Okay, start going to these communities and help build. Help. You're a gun club, militia. Get involved with helping our people to survive storms and rescue people. In other words, there's a lane for everybody. And God knows, based on my experiences with some of these young brothers, are healers, are therapists, are counselors. And those of you who don't have the white man certification, but you've been doing therapy on people all your life successfully, we need you. We need you to help our people heal. We are going through very traumatic incidents. It's very traumatic to look in your family and see that so many of your parents and uncles and cousins and aunties and grandparents are falling victim to preventable diseases younger and younger. That's traumatic. That's not just sad. That affects you, seeing that. You're like, wow, am I next? And people think, oh, I'm gonna die of cancer because this one died. No. So all of those things, when we see them, the people that deal with health, we need you to step up. This ain't the time to shrink back. This ain't the time to be debating if Diddy did it or not. This ain't the time to be getting too caught up in what we should call ourselves. This ain't the time to be fighting. This is not the time for that. We need to really close ranks, move in strategic fashion. Every black person needs to be deciding, what is my gift? What do I have to offer? What do I contribute to the community? Intelligence, knowledge. What's your skill set? What do you do well? And you have to find ways to contribute that. Everybody can play a role in this liberation movement. You don't have to be the most well-read. You don't have to be the best fighter. You don't have to know everything in our history. You do need to have sincerity in your heart. You do need to be ready to commit and to render your best service to the people. And you got to love black people. And while everybody else is talking and partying and doing what they doing and acting like it's all good, I don't know how, we need to be coming up with plans. We need to be coming up with how we going to do this. And guess what? If you're worried about people eavesdropping on you, hint, hint, being all up in your business, you know what you do? Have a nice party and have your meeting in that party place. Yeah. While everybody's partying. Matter of fact, you could host a party, make money. Everybody, we like to party, so you'll make tons of money. Black people gonna come party. While they party and y'all in a conference room in that party place, with the door shut, meeting and planning. That's how you want to do it. That's how you do it. You know how they say we're dumb, and if you want to hide money, put it in the pages of the book. Well, guess what? Let's play. We could play right into that. Since everybody thinks all we do is party and we're pleasure seekers, then you know what? Let's hide our revolution in the pages of a club where nobody would think to come and do intelligence. We got to be smart. I'm going to leave on this, family. We quote Marcus Garvey, Dr. King, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, all of these great people, as we should. I always think about when my children when I have great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, what are they going to be saying about what I did? They're going to quote Frederick Douglass, and they're going to quote Martin Delaney and all David Walker and Ella Baker and all these people. What are they going to say? They're going to say, what did great-grandpa do? Weren't you alive in, I can see them now. Weren't you alive in 2026, whatever? What did you do, Grandpa? What role did you play? I think about that all the time. This is legacy time, family. It's time to get your little party on, do all that. But you know what? Somebody had better be thinking, what are we going to do about this threat coming at us? It's very important. I'm not an alarmist type of brother. I'm keeping it real, though. All you got to do is watch the news. You don't have to believe me. We need a cadre, at least a small group of people who are serious, intelligent, dedicated, resilient. They ain't going to complain every 3 minutes. They're going to make it happen. They're going to finish what they start because they love black people so much. It's not about hating them. It's about loving us. That's what this is all rooted in. We love ourselves, so we're going to fight for what we love and defend it and build for it. With that said, family, I'm done. I do want to just show you this. This is part of what I'm doing. What my gifts are communicating, writing, and speaking, and teaching. I've been doing it for decades, and I'm told I'm pretty decent at it, and organizing people and inspiring. So this is the role I'm playing for now. Every month this year, every last Thursday of the month, except for December, because the last Thursday of December is New Year's Eve. So except for December, every last Thursday of the month, I'm doing a 1-hour workshop. The workshops are all $10 to be paid through my Cash App. With that $10, you're going to get the 60-minute workshop, but you're also going to get a 3 to 5 page ebook that will summarize the major points and we covered in the workshop. So you have something physical to take back when the workshop is long gone. I have this, the link for these workshops is in the description section of this video. And I also have this flyer. Also, there's a video I did on this channel that talks about these leadership workshops. I think I did it a few days ago. And you get this more detailed breakdown of the different workshops and the topics. And you're gonna notice these topics are not fluff. This is the logistical stuff. What are protocols and how do we create protocols in our organizations? How do we regulate our organizations, right? How do we determine character of people? They'll talk all that. Look at their patterns. Look at how they move. Look at what energizes them. Look at what turns them off. Look at what their patterns, what they do, because you can't front. You can't front on a pattern, your habits. You can talk, but you can't front on habits because you do them all the time without thinking, right? These workshops are the truth, family. They're very specific. They're very detailed, and they're not fluff. You know, it's talking about beware of ideology. Use ideology as a liberation framework. Don't get too enslaved to it where you can't think critically on your feet because you say, well, Malcolm said, and so and so. Okay, yeah, but we here right now. We have to be able to fight wherever we are, right? It's just like, martial arts and you're doing a kata, right? You can't do that in a real fight. In a real fight, you got to throw down. You got to leave all that behind and be able to fight right there where you are. So these workshops we're giving, family, are real deal. We got one that's talking about organizing tips based on the objectives of COINTELPRO. I mean, this is some real stuff. I hope you all will come through and register for some of these, but you certainly might want to look at the one on January 29th, because we're talking about something that I think we're challenged with, and that's prioritizing things. You got 20 things that got to get done. How do you decide what gets done first? What should be number one of those 20 things? What should be number 20? And what systematic process do you have to decide that? And I'm going to tell you this. We don't lose, family. Our organizations don't fail. And we don't lose because we're unintelligent. We don't lose or fail because we don't have the talent. God knows we're some of the most intelligent, talented people on the planet. We tend to lose and fail, notwithstanding white subjugation, right? And the enemy and what he does. But we tend to lose and fail because we are heavily disorganized. We're not, it's not about intelligence. It's about how we move, right? So instead of teaching COINTELPRO, you know what they did with COINTELPRO? You teach it scientifically. This is why they did it. This is why they scared. Who are the people they scared of black nationalists organizing with? Why are they scared of the black nationalists hooking up with the youth? What does that represent? Why were they trying to disunite the nationalists from the civil rights, the integrationists. Why? Why were they trying to separate American so-called black people from continental African people? Why? What does that represent? And that should give you clues for how you organize, because those are the things that threaten them. We're getting into all that, family. Really good stuff, no fluff. No, and this is not we coming there to be debating me. I'm the teacher. This is a class. This ain't no we going to be debating this. We going back and forth. I'm teaching you a workshop based on what I know and have done. This is not something I've read a million years. This is stuff I've read and done successfully, I might add, and taught other people to do successfully. And this is one of my contributions, because our leadership is critical. All those different eras when we were fighting that slave resistance, all the way up to civil rights, Jim Crow, Black Arts Movement, Black Power, there was leadership. There were people there who were clear on who the enemy was, clear on what devilishment they were doing to us, clear that we needed to fight back, but not just fight them. We need to also build something for us. So it's kind of against them, for us at the same time. And the leadership helped to organize people in a way where we could be effective, right? So what I'm arguing is we are smart, we are talented, we are dynamic, but we lack organization. And it's funny because the root word of when you're in an organization, you're in an organization. And you could be in an organization that's dysfunctionally disorganized. Nobody knows what the rules are. Nobody knows what's expected of them. Nobody knows who to talk to if something goes wrong. Nobody knows what the procedure is if there's an emergency. There's just it's disorder. You can't possibly win like that. As a matter of fact, predictably, you will always lose when you're disorganized, particularly when you're going up against people who got you outgunned, infiltrating your this whole thing. So what did Brother Garvey say? Disorganization is the chief enemy of the Negro race. Disorganization. Huh? Like, or failing to anticipate things, waiting till an emergency happens. When you saw that match close to that gasoline for months, somebody should have said, that's not good. We need to move that. We need to be very careful where we place things. We need to be, all of that has to be thought about, methodically strategized. Proper people placement. Yeah, you smart. Yeah, you got talent, but should you be the spokesperson? No. Should you be the security? Well, do you know how to secure? No. You understand what I'm saying? So we might have all the smart people in the room, but if they're in the wrong place doing the things that they don't know how to do, don't enjoy doing, they're not in the right placement, and that means the organization will suffer. So we're talking about all these logistical things. They're not sexy, family. It's not like, who's the real Pan-African? It's not that type of stuff. It's not race first or die. It's not rhetorical, but it's the stuff that's going to get us in fighting shape. I can tell you that. You need to come through. Brother Corbetta, thank you. He said, if this stuff is, he said, if the workshops are based on the book, then he said this would be dynamic. This is the book he's talking about. A lot of it comes from this book, and I'm expanding on it. I see the Queen is in the building. That's Brother Corbetta. Shout out to Brother Corbetta. He's a stone cold soldier, activist, always involved in things that are beautiful and noble for our people. Then we got my lovely, the chocolate one. I call her the chocolate curvy one. My lovely Queen. How you doing, baby girl? She's in the building giving greetings. Family, I'm going to end now. I'm not going to belabor this. We got to fight back. We got to fight back, and we got to be clever, and we got to be discreet. Can't be foolhardy, but we got to fight back. We are not going to just stand here playing and partying. All these people are trying to have their way with us, taking away everything that our ancestors fought for. I don't care if you agree with King. It doesn't matter. It really don't matter what you think about Christianity. All that stuff, those are non-issues at this point. That's what I'm trying to say. on those slave ships, when they brought our ancestors over here, family chained, you know what? They had people that was Mandinka, all types of different so-called tribes and nations, spoke different languages. Do you think at that point they was fighting over where we from and what we call ourselves? Come on, man. No. They realized we got to unify now, fight these people, get back to our motherland, and we'll work we'll work that stuff out later. Right now, we got to see what's important. So I'm just going to end with their number one tactic is to keep us distracted, and it's a rhyme. See, that should be a shirt. I'm giving y'all a free idea. Make a shirt. You'll make money. You don't even owe me nothing. Their number one tactic is to keep us distracted. They got us looking left, and something's going on over there. They're passing legislation over there while we partying over there. They're making a big celebrity thing like like everybody's supposed to stop what they're doing and watch this and do that, because who cares? Who cares? Those of us who have to work for a living and have to hustle and do whatever, nobody's coming to save us, family. That's a fact. We gonna have to be the leaders, the saviors that we are looking for. And so these workshops are pointing us in that direction. And that's just my contribution. Every one of you watching this should be saying, what can I contribute? What do I do? And you should offer that up for the Black Liberation Movement. It's very important. And with that said, family, thank you for watching. Peace and Black power. We will win, but we better be organized, and we better take these people seriously. And we better, when we look into our little babies' eyes, we need to be telling them, I will not let you down. I will not let you grow up and be enslaved. I will do everything in my power to make this world better and more beautiful for you. When we looking at our little babies, we need to really feel that. That's important, because people did that for us. And it's only right we do that for our progeny going forward. Peace and Black power, family. Have a blessed evening.